Welcome and welcome back. I'm B, and today I'm discussing Late Night with the Devil. Jack Delroy, the host of the long running talk show Night Owls, is struggling with dwindling ratings after the death of his wife. In a desperate attempt to reclaim his show's former glory, he prepares a unique Halloween special for October 31st, 1977, unaware that his efforts will unleash evil into the homes of viewers across America. The movie starts off with a prologue that lasts about 10 to 15 minutes, setting the stage for what led up to that night on Night Owls. Back in November 1972, Jack signs a 5-year deal with a media company, and a reporter asks a chilling question that frames the movie. What did you have to sacrifice to get here tonight? We learn about Jack's ties to the Grove, an all male club for the wealthy elite. We also learn that his wife, Madeline, who was a non smoker, was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in 1976. She died just 2 weeks after appearing on his show, which was his highest rated episode. After taking a month off to grieve, Jack returns, but as mentioned, his ratings continue to plummet, falling short of his rival, Johnny Carson's. That's why he cooks up this Halloween special. The movie is presented as a found footage, lost media film, showcasing the master tape of that live broadcast along with never before behind the scenes footage. Now, I really like this movie. It was weird in a good way. It gave a bit of a Twilight Zone vibe. And there was some issues in the movie that I'll get to later. Now, I wasn't alive in the 70s, but based on pictures, I thought it gave a really good 70s vibe. And I also love the late night show setup. It's a unique setup for a horror movie because it centers solely around the talk show, and that's not something that we've seen often. To me, it was a fresh and creative take. I found David Dastmalchian, I hope I said his last name correct, who plays Jack Delroy, very believable as a late night show host. Now let's talk about the guests featured on the show. So first, we have the medium known as Christo, and he reminded me of John Edwards. Does anyone remember the show Crossing Over with John Edwards? My mother used to watch his show all the time. And so with these types of mediums, they have the act of asking audience members questions based on information that they claim to have received from deceased loved ones. Basically, they're fishing for information. And I think Christo was definitely faking at first, but then got taken over by the spirit of Madeline for real. And then Christo ends up dying later in the hospital. And then we have Carmichael the Conjurer, who is a skeptic and a former magician, and he challenges Christo and calls him out for being a charlatan. Little did he know that Christo wasn't faking his contact with Madeline. And then we have parapsychologist Dr. June Ross Mitchell and guardian of Lily. She presents as caring and wanting to help Lily, but personally, I found her to be very self serving. She didn't protest enough when Jack asked her to conjure up the demon who Lily calls Mr. Wiggles. And then we have Lily, who is 13 years old and the only survivor of a satanic cult's mass suicide during a standoff with the police. She's supposed to be possessed by a demon and is the subject of June's study. So Ingrid Torelli, the actress that played Lily, did a good job as coming off as creepy when she would stare into the camera, and she also came across as awkward because of her years of being raised in a cult. The actual possession scene of Lily on the show was typical of any possession scene in these types of movies. It wasn't anything special. They had the same demonic voice, demonic eyes, the crunching bones, the levitation, the taunting people. So we've seen this all before, but I think that Ingrid did a good job with that scene. And then Carmichael is disgusted by what he believes is the fake display by June. He also doesn't like that she's using Lily as a part of her act. So he tries to debunk this display of possession by putting Jack's sidekick, Gus McConnell, under hypnosis. And suddenly, everyone in the studio starts seeing these nasty worms pouring out of Gus. And it is a wild moment that the audience that has the audience on edge, and they're like, oh my goodness, what is going on? But then production rewinds the footage, and it turns out that it was all just a shared hallucination, a crazy experience that almost everyone in the studio went through together. So I really liked the hypnosis scene. I thought it was clever to show that we, the audience, us watching this footage, was also hypnotized and are highly suggestible. Now, one critique that I've seen of this movie is that it falls apart in the final act. And I kind of agree. So here's my issue. The last 10-ish minutes seem to be a glimpse into Jack's mind, but how would we as the audience actually see what's happening in Jack's mind when this is supposed to be a found footage lost media film? And it can't be explained away with the audience being hypnotized like the earlier hypnosis scene. So here's my take on the glimpse that we see into Jack's mind. Jack was obviously desperate for power. He wanted to be a king. And like they said early in the movie, he knew that history only remembers kings. So that's why he joined the Grove, hoping their connections would propel him to the top. But in the process, he unknowingly gave up more than he bargained for, his wife's soul. And I don't think he explicitly said, I'll trade my wife's life to be number one above Johnny Carson. I don't even think he realized that her death was a part of the deal until it was too late. Sure, he might have sensed that his fame would come at a cost, but I think he was clueless about what the price would be until it hit him. And I think the Grove's rituals were definitely sinister and demonic. There's that scene where the demon speaking through Lily mentions meeting Jack in the tall trees, clearly referring to their time at the Grove. It's like Jack made some kind of deal with them, and while it wasn't a literal contract, it still sealed his fate. So my interpretation is that the Grove is connected to the cult that Lily was rescued from, or at least they serve the same demon as the cult. Early in the movie, we see that the cult sacrificed children to appease the demon. And during the FBI raid, their leader decided to burn them all to complete the ritual. But since Lily escaped, the sacrifice was incomplete. So the demon found another pawn, and that was Jack. And he's willing to do anything for fame. And in the end, the demon tricks him into killing Lily on live television, completing the ritual. So, in my view, Jack becomes number one and infamous because of that horrific act of killing Lily on live television. I interpreted the spirit of Madeline as trying to warn Jack, but the demon was just too strong for her. Another critique is I didn't like the CGI towards the end when the demon overtook Lily. The demon's evolution didn't fit with the practical effects that made up most of the film. I didn't need to see her head explode or anything, but keeping the same vibe would have been way better than the CGI glowing effect we ended up with. It didn't look great, and I know it's a lower budget movie, so I guess that's why it looked like that. There was controversy earlier in the year about the movie's use of AI art. The directors clarified the use of AI art in a Variety article. In the article, they say, in conjunction with our amazing graphics and production design team, all of whom worked tirelessly to give this film the 70s aesthetic we had always imagined, we experimented with AI for 3 still images, which we edited further and ultimately appear as very brief interstitials in the film. We feel incredibly fortunate to have had such a talented and passionate cast, crew, and producing team go above and beyond to help bring this film to life. We can't wait for everyone to see it for themselves this weekend. So, there's been a lot of discussion around using AI generated art in movies, with some people raising concerns about a few key issues. For one, there's the question of creative authenticity. Some feel that AI art lacks the unique touch that human artists bring to a project. Others are worried about the impact on jobs, as AI could potentially replace roles that have traditionally been filled by artists and designs. And there's an ethical debate too about whether it's fair to use AI when it might draw from existing works created by humans, and whether audiences should be told when AI is involved. Now, I get the concerns. To me, it didn't even seem necessary to use AI for such small portions of the film. Overall, I thought this was a good movie. As I mentioned before, I thought it was unique and a fresh take, something that we desperately need in horror movies. I would rate this movie 3.5 Scream Queens out of 5. What are your thoughts on Late Night with the Devil? How did you interpret the ending sequence? What are your thoughts on the use of AI in this particular movie? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more horror content.